guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, you're watching BookedonCharity, and welcome to my January wrap up. If you guys enjoy watching these videos from me, remember to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can always be notified every time I upload a video. And yeah, let's get into the wrap up. I'll be using my phone with the help of Storygraph to talk through my stats, and then we'll get into the actual books. So in the month of January, I completed 7 books. All of the books I read were fiction books because that's what I read. 3 of them fell into the thriller category. 2 of them were fantasy. 1 was a children's book. 1 had LGBTQIA plus representation. 1 was a science fiction. 1 was a romance, and 1 was a mystery. The format in which I read these books, 1 of them was an ebook, 3 of them were physical books, and 3 of them were audiobooks. My average star rating for the month was 4.25, which I think is really, really good, especially for the first month of the year. It sets you up to get this feeling of I'm gonna have a good reading year, and so far so good. So I rated 5 books 4 stars. I rated, which was my lowest star rating for the month. 4 stars was my lowest, guys. And then one of the books I rated 4.75 stars, and I gave one of them 5 stars. I read a total of 1,365 pages in January and listened to a total of 19.17 hours of audiobook. So let's get into the books. I'm going to show you the books in the order that I completed them. So first up, I will start with a reread that I actually started in December but finished, I think, in the first week of January, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This was my second time reading it. When I read it the first time, I think I gave it like a 4-star rating, and this time around I landed on 4.75 stars. So this book, we follow our main character, Zachary Rollins, who is a PhD student, and he lives close to campus. He loves reading, so he's always visiting the library every day. And on this particular day that he decided to go visit the library, he wanted to challenge himself, and he went to go pick a book by an author he does not know. And this library happens to have a section where with the letter U for unknown authors, and he ends up picking up this book with no author name, and he's like, let me go try it out. So when he goes to check out this book, he finds that it doesn't even want to check out. And we hear that this book has never been checked out since it was checked in, and no one has read this book in completion. So this book is a collection of short stories, and when he finally manages to take out this book and he starts reading the short story collection, by the time he gets to like the 3rd, 4th short story, he finds that the story is about him. And he starts to wonder, why am I written in such great detail in this book? Because he found that the story that was written about him was when he was a young teenager and he was on his way home from school, and just before he got to his mother's shop, which also happened to be their apartment, he finds this beautiful intricate painting of a door on a wall close to his mother's shop, and a part of him thought, is this door real? But he can see that it's a painting, but it looks so real, and he wanted to touch it. He wanted to try and open this door, but he thought, this is crazy, so he didn't try. But in the book, it wrote it in that exact way, and it mentioned how this was essentially a missed opportunity for him, and because of that, his story is not yet complete. So he now goes on this journey where he's trying to figure out who wrote this book. He starts by finding out who donated this book, who this book belonged to, trying to find out who wrote it, why is he in the story, wondering if any of the other stories are also true. So it takes him on this journey to try and figure out if the Starless Sea really, really exists. And what I also love about this, number one, it's a book about books. It's a book about books. It's a book about magical realism, fantastical, where there's this whole world that exists if you just manage to open certain special doors. And on top of that, the author gives you the opportunity to be able to read the same short stories that Zachary gets the opportunity to read in that book. So I love that, because the Zachary chapters were alternated by the short story chapters, and you don't know how everything is going to come together until you really like get close to the end, and it's just so good. It's so mind-blowing. The first time I read it, I could tell that there are things that I don't completely understand, and this is why I always knew that this is a book that I have to reread. I did tab it quite a bit, and yeah, but it's just like, it's one of those stories where you just have to put aside your beliefs, like open yourself to this mysterious, fantastical world, and let yourself be transported to it. Like, get on this ride with Zachary and just enjoy every bit of it. And yeah, I did definitely enjoy this one. It's a definite book that I would recommend. It is a standalone, so you don't have to worry about having to read 5-6 other books, but the story is complete. And yeah, I'm so happy that I reread this. I enjoyed it so much. The next book I read was on audio, and it is called The Wife Upstairs by Frida McFadden. I've been on a binge of Frida McFadden's books. So this one, we following our main character who is down and out. She is at this restaurant, and in the first scene, she helps this woman who is choking on her food, only for that woman to turn around and accuse her of trying to kill her and spilling coffee all over her. But this woman was there to just, get a cup of coffee and get ready for her interview. And now she's like, my outfit is ruined. How am I going to make it to this interview? I really need this job. So she's really panicking. And then this guy comes to help her out. It's like, hey, I can see that you're in a predicament. What's going on? She explains it. She's like, hey, actually, I'm looking for help in my house. Like, I have my wife who is sick, and she needs essentially somebody to help her out, like a friend, not even a caretaker, because this wife has a caretaker. It's like, she just needs somebody to talk to her. Like, I'm being hired to be your wife's friend. But this woman is desperate. She's, I think, living in a car, and this guy tells her, no, you know what, I'm gonna give you lodgings, I'll pay you this amount of money. And she's like, I've never earned that amount of money. This is a great opportunity. I get free accommodation, I get food, and I still get paid, and all I have to do is be a friend to this wife. Maybe it's too good to be true. So fine, she agrees, and she realizes that these people live far. They live far away in the middle of nowhere. She gets there, she meets the wife. She finds out the wife has been in a wheelchair with a broken back and almost like a vegetative state because she had a very bad fall. As she keeps like trying to take care of this wife, she can see and sense that things are a little bit weird in this house. And the husband keeps telling her, no, this wife, she doesn't talk, she doesn't communicate, and she slowly starts getting the wife to talk to her. And the wife goes and directs our main character to her diary to read some of the entries that she put in there. And this is where the story starts to get messy. And this is where Frida McFadden takes you on a twisty journey of mystery, thriller, suspense, and I was all in it. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Definite recommend. And then on ebook, and also I think on audio, I think I borrowed the audiobook on my Libby. I read All Systems Red, which is book 1 in the Murderbot Diaries. I need to go back to it, by Martha Wells. This is a series, and it's a collection of these short stories featuring this robot, but it's almost like some mix between human and robot. But we've got this robot that his job is to protect humans. So when humans go on these expeditions to new planets to go and figure out if this planet is livable or not. They've got these robots that are assigned as essentially bodyguards to keep them safe during this time, because you never know what kind of alien species or just other species are there and how dangerous they are. So that's his job. But this robot actually doesn't like humans and has social anxiety and has hacked his own programming, and therefore is no longer under the control of the people who own him, his employer, let's call them that. So he's hacked his system, and he doesn't like humans, but he has to protect them. He has to spend his time with them, but he likes his solitude. And what he does during his solitude is watch this series that he is so obsessed with. He just binge watches the series, and he's hacked into some mainframe to download as many episodes of the series as possible. And it's such a nice, quick read to listen to, because you're going through this whole story from the robot's perspective. And even though he doesn't like humans, he finds that this group that he's with is somewhat different, and he actually ends up wanting to do his job better, especially when danger occurs and he realizes that somebody's trying to hurt this group, and he doesn't understand why. So he is now working with them to try and figure out what is going on. Why were we even sent on this mission? And like, what purpose and why do they now want to hurt my humans? So it's a nice story. It does talk about anxiety. It does talk about, like I mentioned, social anxiety, especially this person is just used to being alone. Like, they're very anxious and they're very private. They don't like to be in spaces where they have to expose who they are or let people in to get to know them. And we kind of see that throughout the story. But I really enjoyed this one, and I can't wait to go back into the Murderboat Diaries. It is definitely a fun one to read and listen to. I gave this one 4 stars. The next audiobook I listened to is another Freedom McFadden, and this one is called The Surrogate Mother. This one, like, it made me so angry. And not the book, but the people in the book made me so mad. This one drove me up the wall. So I gave this one 4 stars as well, and it is following our main character, who is, I believe she's almost 40, and her husband have been struggling to conceive for a very long time, and they were really excited this time around because they finally got someone who was willing to let them adopt their child. So they gave up on trying to get pregnant on their own, and they ended up going for the adoption route until that fell through. And she was stuck again. She was stuck again, feeling desperate, feeling very disappointed, until she gets an offer for a surrogate. And even when that offer was coming, I was just like, this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well. I can see already where the issues are. And when I tell you, it spirals, and every scene, every chapter, it just keeps getting worse. I was so afraid for our main character. I was afraid for his safety. I was afraid for his sanity. Like, it was just, it was crazy. It was one of those books that I could not stop listening to, because I'm just like, I'm panicking. I'm panicking on her behalf, but I just want to know that she's going to be okay at the end of it. You know what I mean? So it was just, it was a crazy ride, but I enjoyed it so much. I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read is a children's book. I don't know if this counts as middle grade, but let's call it middle grade. And this is a South African book by an author called Salamina Mosese, and it is illustrated by Vian Olofsson. and it is called Cook Off at Gogo's Plaza. This is the cover. You guys have probably seen this book before, but I read this one and it follows. This is actually the second book, right? I don't even know what my first book is. I always say this when I'm talking about this because I don't know what my book is, and I have to get my first copy, or for my daughter at least. But the first one is called Disaster at Gogo's Plaza. This one is called Cook Off at Gogo's Plaza. So Gogo has 3 grandchildren, and the story starts off with them playing outside. They have a magazine open and they're playing this game where as soon as they turn the page of the magazine, each of them gets to pick, oh, this is me, this is my life, oh, this is my car, type thing. And as they're playing and paging through the magazine, they stumble upon an ad for a cook-off in Soweto, and they're like, what? Our grandmother is the best cook we know. Clearly, obviously, we are going to enter into this competition. So they decide to do that, and first without the grandmother knowing, but it does eventually come out that this is what they did. And once the grandmother has decided, okay, fine, I will enter this competition, they want to be very helpful and give her all these recipes of things to try. And they all have very, very different ideas. And they're children. All of them have very extravagant, very illogical ideas. But she indulges them and she still tries to think about what she wants to do. And she's like, you know what? People love my food and they come to my spaza, which is her tuck shop, because they love the food that I make. So that's what I want to bring to this competition. And competition day comes, they decide, oh, let's host it at Gogo's Plaza's look as that main location. There's 2 other contestants that entered into the competition. So the competition gets on the way. They start cooking. Gogo is preparing her dishes, and the first round is just a disaster. Everybody's dish is just a disaster. Second time around, the kids decide, you know what? We need to get involved in here. We need to make sure that Gogo wins this competition. Do they not start going to go look for all these weird things to add to Gogo's recipes? And I'm just like, oh, these kids. this is the disaster as well. But it was funny, it was fun, it was very quick to read, it was very easy. I think this is something that probably a little kid would really, really enjoy. They will probably laugh out loud and raise their eyes as they read this. But I had fun with it, and I've now donated it to my daughter's library, so I'm gonna put this one back there when this video is done. And then another book that I read together with my daughter, we have started being more consistent this year, because last year we actually started this, but then we stopped halfway. But this year was like, when we do school drop-offs and school pickups, we are going to listen to audiobooks, and she's been enjoying it. And this year we started with a book called Millie Magnus Won't Be Bullied, and this one is by Brittany Mazik. She gave this one 5 stars, okay? So I added 5 stars here because I've been asking her to rate the books. So she gave this one 5 stars. It follows Millie Magnus, this young girl who has this group of friends, these 2 friends that are nice and quirky like her. Millie has beautiful curly hair. Her mom is a mayor in this town, and she sometimes calls her mom Mayor Maud. And she says, no, you can call me Millie Magnus, you can call me MMM, or like she's got all these different names. And she's got a pet chicken named Extra Spicy. And I was just like, I found that to be the most hilarious thing. But Millie, when she goes to school on this day, she sees this kid who tends to bully one of her friends. So she goes and stands up for her friend, and this kid also starts calling her names and mocking her hair and things like that. But Millie is just like, there's no way you are going to bully me. I will not let you do that to me. So she goes back home and she tells her mom, you know, this is what's going on. Like, you know, give me advice. What should I do? And the mom tells her, like, maybe make a list of things that this kid does that you don't like and speak to him about it. So she starts making a list, and she, you know, is getting herself ready to to tell him his business. But they announced that, oh, there's this sports day at school, and she's gonna end up being in this like a three-legged race against this kid and his dad, and she starts working on like, I have to beat this boy, I have to beat this boy, and he's already like riling her up that you're not gonna do this, Millie Magnus, you're not gonna be able to do this, and he's like, I'm gonna show you. But things don't really work out the way that she planned it to work out. But there's a lesson in here as well that, you know what, just because somebody is a bully, sometimes it might mean that they're also going through their own things, and they are using that as a way to mask or hide the pain or the things that they are going through. And she realized that even the list that she had made to tell this boy his business, it's not going to work, because this person needs a friend more than they need somebody to tell them off. So it was a really nice book. She enjoyed it so much that she made us listen to it twice, which is like, I read this book twice. So I'm gonna add this book, and I did mention this year that I'm going to include all the children books that I read, because I am actively reading them with my daughter. We recently finished reading Encanto from Disney Press, and currently we are reading Moana. So it's been good. It's been good, and I love that she's been really enjoying it. She doesn't even ask me to play music in the car anymore. She's just like, okay, where's the audiobook? So I already have a list of audiobooks, you know, waiting, and I have to make sure that the next one is ready by the time that we finish our current one. So it does take us about a week to listen to a book during our commute, because our commute is not that long. It's about 15 minutes. So if we've got an audiobook that's like 2 hours long, it's gonna take us some time. And we're listening at 1x speed, because that's how she prefers to hear it. And yeah, so we read Millie Magnus Won't Be Bullied, and she gave them 5 stars. The last book that I read is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I gave this one a 4-star rating. This was my second attempt at reading Ninth House. The first time I tried to read it, I think I got maybe like 15-20% in. I was just like, I don't get what's happening here, and I needed to put it down. But I knew that it's a book that I had to get back to, because I've heard really good things and I really wanted to give it a chance. So even when I got book 2, I knew that my plan was to read and finish book 1, and I managed to do that this time around. So in this book, we're following Alex Stern, and in other chapters we follow another character as well, who happened to be her mentor when she moved to Yale University. And the way in which she got to move to Yale University was not really by academic merit. She was in a situation where her friend and other people around her died, and she was the only one who survived, and she was picked up by this dean from Yale University, who is also part of the secret society, and bring her into the university. And the reason that he did that is because Alex Stern has an ability to see dead people, and this is a skill that they use to need for the kind of things that they do in the secret society. All right, so you've got people in the secret society that are part of these different houses. I think there is nine houses. They're part of these different houses, and each house there are different magical abilities that the people from that house can do. And her job essentially was to work as a mentee under this guy who would teach her everything, and they go whenever there's like seances and things like that, and they keep the grays, is what they call them. They keep the grays intact, and they keep them from interfering with whatever ritual is happening. And because she can see them, she can interact more, and you realize that this is something that she was able to do since she was really young. And the scary part for her was that some of them would actually be able to touch her, which, oh, that was scary because there was a scene that was really scary. But as we following Alex Stern in the story, there's also a murder that happens at the university, and it happens to somebody who's not even a student, a young girl who is just outside like a nobody, and she feels really inclined to find out what happened to her because she feels like, you know what, this could have been me and this was my friend, and nobody really cared to really find out what was going on. So she takes it upon herself to solve this murder, and as she is on the journey to do that, it starts revealing a lot of mysterious and creepy things that are happening at this university at the hands of this society, and there's just a lot of other things that happen in here. But this was a slow one. It was definitely a slow one, and I feel like I properly got into it when I got to the midway point. We do hear from another perspective, which adds another element of mystery to this, because this character that we hear from is a character that's currently missing, and for a long time in the book you don't know what happened to him. So Alex is also trying to figure out what happened to him, but you also get the sense that Alex knows more than what she's letting on in everything that she's doing. And I'm just like, there's just a lot of secrets going on here. But when everything was revealed, it was very, very interesting to me, and it definitely made me think about wanting to pick up the second book probably soon. But yeah, I had a good time this time around with Ninth House, and I gave it 4 stars. That is all the books that I've read in the month of January. Let me know down below what you guys read. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I will be seeing you in my next one. Bye-bye.